Okay, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you all. It's a great honor to me to speak in your forum. My name is Noam Krakover. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer of the Cyber Division in ELTA, in IAI ELTA. I'm going to speak today about the cybersecurity in the digital era. Before I start, I'm going to present myself. My name is Noam. I'm dealing right now with cyber for almost 20 years. I started in the Israeli military. Afterwards, I was part of the first team of the INCD, Israel National Cyber Directorate. I was responsible for the Israeli strategy. I didn't do it alone, of course. And a few years ago actually, I left the government and joined the IAI ELTA, the largest vendors in Israel and internationally, of course. Before I start, it's obvious to us that the digital era combines great opportunities, like we see over here, the Israeli journey, the Israeli magic. As you can see, all of the Israeli ecosystem changed thanks to the digital era. But with the opportunities came and presenting the challenges. The bad guys identified the great capabilities and potential of the digital era, and they are trying to use it. So first thing that I want to speak about is about the cyber threats, and then we'll move to the cyber security, or I prefer to use the term cyber defense. So what I did, I just took the main events, and those are only examples from the last 5 to 6 years, and we can see that there were a lot of attacks, different attacks, and we can learn a lot of them. For example, what happens when a nation attacks a private company, what happened in Sony, of course. When somebody is trying to steal money, and I know that you are dealing with some of you with fintech, and the banks are not sharing information between them, so we are still fighting or finding activities by Lazarus or by Fin7. What happens when one country attacks another country political system or critical infrastructure, or when a country or a state uses 0 days or day one vulnerabilities in order to create weapons, to develop weapons. And of course, what just happened in the last 10 months, I think, with the coronavirus. When I'm looking at the numbers, we can see that there was a huge jump in the size and the scale and the numbers of the events. We can see more and more events that they are dealing with advanced technologies, that threaten advanced technologies. We don't have enough 5G technology right now, but the bad guys are already focusing and aiming and targeting the 5G, or system that we've all thought that are immune, or for example, when or using advanced technologies like AI to attack somebody else. So we can identify actually a few main trends that in my opinion, in our IAI ELTA opinion, are shaping the world. For example, the threat. A few years ago, we thought that hacktivists or criminals are the main threat. And of course, they are still a threat, but today we can see that the main problem is because of states and sometimes even superpower players. Or for example, the advanced cybercrime capabilities. I already mentioned Lazarus and Fin7, or all of these guys who are trying to steal IP that concern the COVID-19 news and the efforts and other stuff. Or as I already mentioned, another trend is the use of new technologies, for example, against the cloud or against the IoT. I already presented Mirai, if some of you noticed, or as I mentioned, to use AI as a tool, as a weapon. We can see also, of course, large-scale industrial espionage, mainly by one of your neighbors. And this is a real threat We know that the Americans, Ms. Melissa Hathaway, estimate that the damage by cybercrime is between 2 to 4% of the national GDP for a country. So it's a lot of money, it's a real damage. I mentioned the Russian activity against the Americans in 2016, and we saw it also in France, Italy, and I'm sure that we're going to see more of it in the United States in this current election system that we are all facing. So what this idea, we call it CNI. The I stands, of course, for influence. When somebody is using its cyber capability to deal with other nation or state or organization reputation or system, whatever. And on the other end, of the ecosystem side, we can see that the skills gap is still widening. We are all short with capable manpower or personal power, excuse me. There are lots of reasons and explanations why we face this reality. For example, the traditional security solutions are not good enough. The standard IT is not good solutions. Think about an advanced aggressor. They are familiar. They are already familiar with your solution. So there is a place to designate an advanced technology. All of the idea how to defend an organization or a country or a person, the idea of defending the perimeter is not good enough. Think about it. The perimeter, think about lateral movement. The idea of defending the perimeter is obsolete. And of course, the connectivity. It's very easy to move from the mobile to the desktop, to the laptop, to whatever, to your watch, to your glasses. So the connectivity is a real problem. And as we already know, some of the vendor solutions are not good enough. I already mentioned the COVID-19, and we know that there was a huge impact by the coronavirus on the economies, on the other things, and also influenced the cyber ecosystem and the digital ecosystem. Like, for example, countries adopted or used the digital infrastructure and started to work from home. Or, for example, to use different networks and clouds and other things. But with this behavior came the bad guys, the aggressors. And of course, they took advantage of it and started to attack. And we saw lots of activities, lots of attacks that are focusing and based on using this new kind of behavioral, and they were focusing and still are on the digital infrastructure. And we can see a lot of attacks, for example, based on Checkpoint, Israeli company, wonderful company named Checkpoint. I'm sure that you are all familiar. We can see a huge jump in the activity. We can see also a lot of activities and cyber attacks against digital infrastructure of hospitals. And of course, a lot of scams against the households and the persons themselves. And we can identify a few major threats of this era, of this month, against the digital infrastructure. For example, the phishing. We are all familiar with phishing, but there was a huge jump in the in phishing or the e-crime. But it's not only this general activity is very bad, but still general. We're all familiar with them. We saw a lot and still seeing a lot of targeted intrusions against hospitals, against government, against research labs. We can see a lot of activity targeting remote services. We are just using Zoom, and we are all familiar with the problems of Zoom. And of course, things like phishing and robocall and other stuff that are unique or not unique, but we can see much more of them in these few months. Now, when we are talking about the challenge in cybersecurity in the digital era, it's of course to balance. According to McKinsey, the real challenge is to balance between cybersecurity and cyber defense in one hand and the business and operational continuity. It's very easy to stop all of the systems, and then we probably going to make the life of the bad guys a bit harder. But we can't work, we can't live like this. So we need to balance between them. We need to balance, and our solution in IAI, and my own perspective, I write about it in my PhD document, is to find a way to balance between the digital environment and cybersecurity. What we see in our approach in IAI is that strategic challenges, and these are definitely strategic challenges, require strategic solutions like technology, methodology, constant innovation, cooperation between different players, international and international, private and governmental, different entities and others, and of course capacity build-up and maintenance of the capabilities, because the digital era is so dynamic, so solutions from yesterday are not necessarily going to be relevant today or, of course, tomorrow. One of the main things people are, an organization like the operational side, let's put a new EDR, let's build a new entity under the government, but it's not good enough. It's not good enough because we need to balance between the governmental and operational, between the private and the public sector. And as I said, we believe in ecosystem, and a major pillar in the ecosystem is the human resource. We identify 6 main building blocks to secure the digital infrastructure and provide a clean water model for the digital era. First of all is awareness. Second is the baseline security. Let's admit it, most of the computers, including in the developed ecosystems, are not secured. We're talking about procedures and playbooks, but it's not only that. We are also talking about technology, like designated solutions. I'm going to elaborate about it in a minute, about automatization, because we lack of manpower. And of course, the advanced technologies like AI, ML, and others. About technology, for example, we are talking about automatization, about decision-making support. We're all familiar with situational awareness, but what to do? I can tell you I'm visiting customers and countries, and I tell them, you need to do something. And they said, I can't do it. I don't have the manpower. I don't have the knowledge. I don't know what to do. So the combination between the decision-making support and the automatization. When I'm speaking about designated technology, I'm speaking mainly about proactive systems. I'm speaking about protecting the OT and the critical infrastructure systems. And when I'm talking about advanced technologies, it's very nice to use the buzzwords like AI, ML, IoT, and others. But today, for example, we understand it's very nice to know what just happened, better to know it. But we believe that we need to know what is going to happen. And we are talking about predictive analytics abilities, operational predictive analytics capabilities. So at the end of the day, we think that the right tools or the necessary tools are situational awareness, advanced incident response capabilities, and of course, this is an ecosystem, and there is the human factor. So we are talking about information sharing and awareness. I mentioned the human resource a few times. So for example, everyone can offer courses, cyber courses, but we are talking about something else. We are talking about constant effort of innovation, of education, of training people to become cyber professionals. Otherwise, we are still all going to be vulnerable, totally vulnerable. And there is another side of cyber that we need to take advantage. For example, to use it to help minorities, to educate them, to become professions, to earn money. Of course, in Israel, one of our key benefits is that we have a very developed military. So in Israel, it's one of the main pillars, one of the main sources for manpower. But of course, we need to train all and educate all of the ecosystem. To conclude my presentation, there is a combination and tension between the challenges and the opportunities, and we need to balance it. We need to move forward, and we need to adopt different solutions so we can provide a clean water model. And we have to adopt an ecosystem paradigm. It's not only boxes, it's not only systems, it's the whole ecosystem. We need to refer cyber and the digital as a domain that combine the ecosystem and the defense. We need to collaborate and to build partnerships, and we need to adopt advanced and designated technologies. And if we're going to do all of this, we're going to balance the opportunities and the challenge acquisition. Guys, thank you very much. It has been a real pleasure. Thank you. Stay safe and healthy.